Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Cool People. Now, over the last 2 years since starting my gender transition and coming out very publicly as being trans and doing lots of trans awareness training work and public speaking about trans issues, I've met all sorts of diverse people who've got amazing stories to tell. And I've made so many new friends. And the whole purpose of this series is just to share my friends with you, because if they can tell you their story, then you can get much more of an understanding of where they're coming from. And I think that can only be a good thing. So today, my cool person who joins me is a great man called Paul Sesay. And he's the founder of the National Diversity Awards, and he's also the Inclusive Top 50 UK Employers. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Really, really good to be on your show.
No, I'm honoured to have you with me. So I just wondered if you'd like to just tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to doing what you do now.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you again for allowing me to tell my story. I don't know about cool. My kids might not say I'm too cool, but but yeah, it's a great series, and well done to you, and hats off to you for doing such a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, so my name is Paul Sesay. I'm the founder of various diversity and inclusion initiatives. I have been since 2003, 17 years. And yeah, I do the National Diversity Awards, as you quite rightly said, the Inclusive Top 50, the Inclusive Companies membership. And my focus has always been about D&I as a whole, promoting all strands of diversity rather than just singular strands, which was a lot of companies tend to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and how I got into diversity is it's got a lot to do with my beginnings and how I was brought up. I was I'm mixed race. My mother is white. My dad was black. I was kind of a couple night stand back in the 70s. And my mum I've got white brothers and sisters, but my mum didn't want to have a black child. And so she fostered me out when I was a baby. Which is
it's a sign of the times, isn't it? I mean, I was born in 1969, so growing up in the 70s. So yeah, it was very much that sort of culture then, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, she wasn't in a relationship with someone, and basically, as she put from adoption because of my color. So obviously, I've had a relationship with that throughout my whole life, and so I went into foster care when I was younger. Some good, some bad, and in the 70s, foster care and social services very different to what it is now. Not as much safeguarding as there is now. So some foster parents was in it just for the money. And I've had really bad experiences from being abused mentally and physically to some really, really good ones as well that have shown me the light and shown me that there is some good in the world as well. It was, when I was 3 years of age, I went to this really nice family I'm from Leeds originally, but this was in Castleford. And he was amazing role model even until this day. I sadly only stayed there for a couple of years because my real mother got into a new relationship, and basically the stepdad said, well, you should have your son back. And so I went to live with her for about 6 months, but that didn't work out. She said basically I was fostered to the school, I was fostered to the neighbours, and just couldn't come to terms with having a black child within her family, and actually quite nasty with it as well. So as then was shipped out to not a very nice foster family as well, to the point where the foster family, or the person that was the father, was done for paedophilia. And he was actually arrested and locked up for that, and he's for various things that he was doing. I went to different homes, and it was a hard time. I went to school sometimes in some black areas, some white areas, but in the white areas, you come to a point where you are visibly different. And as you probably well know, people can be very, very vindictive. So I want to scrub my skin white because I want to be like the white pupils that was in the school. One particular memory was basically this is in primary school. Do you remember the brown girl in the ring?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I was the black boy in the ring getting kicked by loads of kids in the playground. So there's not nice memories that I've had. Excuse me. as a childhood, but actually shaped me to be the person I am today. And then when I was, after my real mum wanted me back, and then I left, I went, like I said, I went to a not so nice foster family. And then I went to a lovely lady called Gertrude, who basically, you know, showed me some love and humility in life, which is what I needed at that time at 15, 16.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, but that, unfortunately, you know, she was quite, not what's there, she was of a certain age, and you know, I think it was getting too much to foster. So I was in a hostel when I was 15, didn't have no family around me, had no one around me. It was quite a challenging time. And I ended up being involved with the local in Leeds, which is a place called Chapeltown, which is the predominantly black area, but still quite a very rough area. But a lot of people took me under their wing, albeit, you know, people that, you know, that shouldn't be doing some of the stuff that are technically legal. It was, and I was, for want of a better word, very, very ghetto in my attitude, quite street. But that's because I didn't know any difference. I was 15, 16. I had no guidance, no one telling me what I'm right from wrong. No one around me. Spent many Christmases and birthdays by myself, and it was a really trying time. So I ended up getting to little bits of not major crime, but silly crime. But I always knew it was wrong. I knew it wasn't for me. I just knew for some reason I knew right from wrong, and I knew it was something that I didn't want to continue. So when I was 19, I had £25 in my pocket, and the clothes, that was it, and I moved to Liverpool, and that was when my life kind of changed. So I met this guy called James Class, who kind of took me under his wing, and he gave me a place to stay, food to eat, you know, and just guided me. And he was a radio DJ for Radio City and BBC Merseyside.
Yeah.
And so he's quite famous himself in a certain degree in the local kind of sense.
Yeah.
He was a black guy, and his story was he was from Barbados. No, sorry. Gosh, where is it? I should know this. But he's from the Caribbean anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, he came over when he was like 19. You know, he had the gloves on, Michael Jackson, Jerry curls, quite flamboyant. And he struggled himself, and I think he's seen some of him in me. And so he used to take me around, you know, the radio, and show me what he did then. And then I used to MC in clubs, in nightclubs. And that was the catalyst for me to start believing in myself. So I've gone from, you know, not really having anybody around me, for someone actually showing me, actually, you can earn money by MCing in clubs, and obviously getting lots of girls at that time. And, you know, it was just a real good, feel good thing for me at that moment of time. And James was really, really the catalyst for me to start believing in myself. In 2000, later on, he sadly passed away, should I say, with cancer. And the story is that he never knew what a role model he was. So James was a role model to me, really started me believing in myself. But when he died, he filled out the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool. Now, this is the largest cathedral in Europe. Wow. And people were standing at the back.
Wow.
And it wasn't just the black community, it was people from all over the city paying respects to this man. You know, I'd be lucky to fill a church out with 20 people, and, you know, to fill out the biggest cathedral in Europe was amazing. But the fact is, he didn't know what a role model he was in society, not only to me, to many other people. And so that was a real big, that left me with a real big catalyst in what I want to do in life. You know, I want to aspire to be, you know, someone like him, or to aspire to do something good in the world, which is fantastic. So before he actually passed away, I've kind of gone forward a little bit, but I used to DJ and MC and so on and so forth. And then I got a job in sales, and I worked for an organization called Diverse Liverpool, which was basically a magazine all about promoting Black History Month and things like that. And it really intrigued me way back in, I think, 2002, 2003. And I thought, well, this is good. It's doing something good. It's something that I believe in myself. And I was really, really successful at it, making that magazine a success. I brought that from just an idea to, you know, to something that is ingrained in Liverpool society. Although I didn't own it, I didn't think of it. It was there, and I was really proud of the achievements that I'd had to become like almost the top salesperson within that. You know, having a good autonomy with the chief executive to then start, you know, going on to other things, and you know, it was amazing. But unfortunately, that didn't work out, and I ended up being headhunted for another organisation called Equality Britain. And then again, that was a directory. It was a publication that was national, and I found out I was really, really good at promoting diversity with them as well. But their ethos wasn't as good as what I thought it should be. I thought there was just making money out of it, but there was no real actions. There's nothing there that, you know, you can do a directory, but ultimately, what is there? What else is there to do to encourage people from diverse backgrounds to actually apply for jobs, given the confidence to apply for jobs, and so on and so forth. So I decided in 2006 that I'm going to set my own business up, which was hard. I took a 2-week holiday from the organisation that was there. Knew what I was going to do, and because of James and because of the various other things that I've been through in my life, I really believed in myself at that point. I thought, well, this is not going to fail. And anybody that's going to start a business, you know, I think that's really crucial. Don't ever, you know, don't overthink things. Go for it. Do you know what I mean? And what will be will be. If it works out, it's a lesson. I mean, if it works out, amazing. If it doesn't work out, it's just a lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and
pretty impressive to do it, launch it in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I knew what it was. Yeah. But that was in August 2006, and first thing we did a wall planner, which was basically you know, promoting companies' diversity stance on a wall planner, a generic advert from public sector, mainly at that point in 2006. They was really doing a lot with diversity rather than the public sector, you know, housing, education, and the public sector. And that worked out really well, but you know, you all make mistakes. So the first calendar that I did, the dates was completely wrong in it. So I sent it out to the companies. The dates were completely wrong, but you learn from your mistakes. I had to reprint it and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then I did a director of my own, and then, but like I said, I want to go further. So then I started doing events. So I did a lot of recruitment events. So I want to engage diverse communities with recruiters. Lots of recruiters was talking about how they want to promote diversity, but they really didn't know how to. So I want to bring these people together with their companies to say, well, actually, there's lots of talent out there from many different backgrounds, and you know, here they are. So you've got no excuse. And I know this kind of works because through my own experiences when I was looking for work, there was a recruitment fair, which was mainly public sector. This is probably 2001. And there was police, fire services, housing. This was predominantly for the black community in Toxteth. And we went there on the coach. It was in Chester Races. And most people on the bus were going, oh, it's just going to be lip service. You know, we're not going to get anything from it. You know, it's just, you know, we'll apply for a few jobs, but that'll be it. But actually, when they went to the actual recruitment fair and seeing people, some people liked them, and the public sector was really engaging with them, the atmosphere on the coach was completely different. They actually believed that they could get a job in these places.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that even then got me thinking, you know, this is the power of just connecting people and connecting the right people so that opportunities can happen. So I started doing recruitment fairs. That was really successful. And then the recession happened. And so I think we're going to go into another recession. So I think it's really poignant that we're talking about this. And literally, because it was public sector education, literally 80% of my revenue went down. I think we was talking before that it's trying times for everybody. And you've got to, you know, be resilient. You've got to be adaptable to change, whilst having the ethos that you still want to have an impact. So, you know, whilst this was happening, it took a couple of years for things to bounce back. And in 2011, I decided I want to do something that honors James Class's name. So he died a couple of years before, as I said before. And so I thought, well, he's a role model in society. There's lots of diversity initiatives that was promoting, you know, people that are doing jobs within D&I, getting paid lots of money to do that and patting each other on the back. But actually, what about the people in the communities that have helped people like me and you to aspire to do things, to aspire to, you know, to become someone? So I started the National Diversity Awards in 2012. And it just grew and grew ever since. And it was
They're
all
massive
about,
now, aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
It's huge.
It's all about promoting positive role models, community organizations, and entrepreneurs, and bringing D&I together as a whole, which has always been my ethos all the time. And it really, really worked. Everybody in that room felt, that they are accepted. We are all different. We are all individuals. We all get our own identities, but actually, this is how the world should be. We should be acceptance of others while celebrating who we are. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I love it when I go to a diversity and inclusion event, because you get all these diverse people for all
Yeah,
different sort of backgrounds, and you just know that you're just accepted. Whoever you are,
yeah,
you're just accepted, because that's the sort of people, because we've all got something, we've all got our stories to tell, and
yeah,
we've all, experienced some sort of discrimination or whatever, and so you're just so much more accepting, and it's lovely. It's lovely.
yeah.
I regularly tell people I'm trans. I couldn't be more out if I tried, let's face it. But short of putting a billboard advert up, but actually that's a point. I ought to do that. but short of doing that, I'm well out anyway. With what I do with Cool to Be Trans. But you just know that you can go up to anybody in the room and just start up a conversation about it, and you just tell each other, swap stories and stuff, and it's just a lovely atmosphere, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's amazing. And on one particular table on the national, so I don't think nothing had been done like that before in the D&I space as well.
No.
When the national came back in 2012, it was always very singular stranded kind of initiatives. And I feel like I was probably one of the first people to bring a large scale event together, to bring all strands of diversity together that are just not corporates, to actually celebrate who they are.
Yeah.
And I've got to do a few thank yous as well. For instance, there was Microsoft came in the first year. I pitched them on what we was trying to do, and there was a couple of people that was really infused by it. Thought, well, this has not been done before. We really want to get involved. And Microsoft was a real big advocate for the national. They helped us develop the website for the nominations. They really they did a lot of promotion throughout their whole company and wider fields, and really helped it grow. Which is amazing for us as an organization. We was only a small organization coming out of a recession, trying to do something different. And then we managed to get, like the Open University and various other organizations involved. The first year was good. I mean, it really highlighted the what people do. For instance, there was a guy called Liam Mackin who has now come out trans since that, but he was deaf and blind. I forget the name of the disability, unfortunately, but he won the award because he basically raised over £250,000 for charity. He'd written 2 books in large print and braille. He was only 17, by the way. 2 books in large print, 2 books in large print and braille.
Wow.
Of his own poetry, which had been published. He'd managed to graduate into Oxford University. And all this because he could see and hear, and it was a condition that gradually got worse.
Right.
But when you seen him, he was happy. He was an amazing individual. It didn't let his disability get him down. And and he just epitomizes what the awards is about. Do you know what I mean? And then since winning that awards, he's passed his degree in university, but also he's then come out as trans as well. So
Wow.
he's
He's ticking all the boxes now.
he ticks every single box, yeah. Just showing, but it's highlighting real people that are not getting recognized in society. You know what I mean? We're all individuals. We're all people that need to be. Our stories need to be heard.
I think
some great work that goes on.
I think so, and I think the key to this. I mean, there's a lot of placard wavers and a lot of angry sort of anarchists and whatever that get their point across that way. But to be honest, I think it's more powerful to actually present yourself to the world as showing that you're happy is the real you, and then people get it much more and think, oh, actually, yeah, that's all there is to it. And so, I'm so much happier as the real me. And I've lost count of the number of people who told me that I look so much happier now. And I didn't think I looked unhappy before, but so many people have told me that. And I think it's so you can get across your point across to so many more people doing it that way. And it's all about education, because so much bigotry and hatred comes from a fear of the unknown. So if you can just take that unknown away, it's just it's such a good thing. And I
Well, I
think,
think a lot. Go on, sorry.
yeah, and I think also there's a lot of D&I events that are held, that they hold them, and then sort of, you know, 3 men and a dog turn up, and you think it's such a shame. But I think that it works better if you have an event that's just not branded as a D&I event. You know, if it's a talk or something, it's just, but put D&I items in just mainstream events,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
usually when people listen to them, they don't realize they're listening to a D&I thing.
yeah,
They're just listening to someone telling a story, and then they're genuinely interested, and then they understand it, and you reach more people. And that was why I didn't want to do this, because originally, as I was saying earlier on, I didn't want to do this. Originally, I was thinking about just doing this, just talking to just trans people. I thought, no, let's widen it out to anybody who's got a story to tell, anybody who's overcome some sort of adversity,
yeah,
and is doing good stuff now. Or turning their life around in some way, and I think it just reaches far more people. It appeals to more people, and it's just a much more general storytelling thing. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
there's obviously lots of trans people that are going to be featured in this, because I know lots of trans people, and they've all got amazing stories. So I make no apologies for having so many in, but that's my thing. Yeah.
We can all be inspired by whoever. Do you know what I mean? There's many people from different strands of diversity that inspire me. I might not be from that particular strand, but actually,
Yeah.
your story will get me motivated to actually do something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think, going back to your point, it is about education. Most people, you know, just need educated. You know, I find when I meet, I've met some racist white people, and you know, and me, just by me talking to them, I try and change their hearts and mind. What's the meaning behind your anger towards me, and you
Yeah.
know, and why you shouldn't be like this. I'm just human like you, and you know, and I think a lot of people have that wolf mentality of, you know, they want somewhere to belong, and whichever pigeonhole that is, they will try and follow that. Do you know what I mean? But actually, do they actually believe that? I was watching a documentary the other week, and I think it was this white extremist in America, and there was a black guy that was interviewing them. And by the end, a lot of these white extremists were saying, well, you've actually changed my mind towards black people. Do you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
It's about education. It's a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what's wonderful about the national diversity was, because when we deliberately put many different types of people on one table, and people come away saying, I've never been so inspired by my life by these people that are on there from many different backgrounds. So on one table, you will have an LGBT, you'll have someone from a religious background, you from a BAME background, from a disability background, and it's all there, and we're all celebrating. You're like, wow, we get it time and time again.
Yeah, and I go to when I go to D&I events. Remember one that I went to in London last year, and there was a brilliant speaker who's intersex, and she spoke about that, and it's something that I didn't really know much about at that point, and her speech was just amazing, absolutely amazing, and it was such an eye opener, and you know, we've become friends since, and it's just such a great thing. So she educated me on that, and since then I've been able to educate other people about it, and it's fantastic, isn't it? It really is.
Well, let's set a light bulb in you to say, well, what can I do to make change like that
Yeah.
person's done for you? Do you know what I mean? You've been inspired by that person, and ultimately you want to make change yourself, and that can only be an amazing thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's reminded me. I've got to get her on Cool People, because I did invite her, but she was busy a few weeks ago, so I need to contact her again. That's reminded me.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was. So then I'll carry on with the story. So
yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So the National Diversity Awards in the first year was really great, and then year on year it just grew and grew and grew. And this year we've had 32,000 nominations and votes from every breadth of the UK. So if you look on the interactive map on there, you'll see, you know, just so much great work that's going on, from Scotland, Northern Ireland, you know, down to Devon and Cornwall.
Yeah.
And I had a dream that, you know, when I was doing the business, that, you know, this would happen. And I think that's when you do any business, you've got to think of, have a vision of where you want it to go, and ask the universe or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And it has grown to that fact where we've got it on ITV News now, though the
No.
ITV News are going to cover like the shortlisted nominees on the national and regional news.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. I'm not a good promoter myself. What I want to do is just promote diversity, inclusion as a whole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not an amazing public speaker, but I just, in the background, I will do my work to be able to, challenge the stereotypes that people have and change their hearts and minds.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we did. So we did the national anyway. But in 2014, I had lots of organisations that was on my books as regards to the directories and stuff like that. And again, there was award ceremonies and various things that was out there that was, very singular stranded and so on and so forth. But I want to do something that was all encompassing of different sectors, different strands of diversity for organisations, and really promote the good work, not just the heads of D&I, but people that are just doing good work within their organizations throughout their networks, from the CEOs to various other things. And so the Inclusive Companies Awards was born, which somebody told me it's very ambitious, getting all the other sectors together. And as soon as someone tells me that's ambitious, I want to go and do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't tell me that, if someone tells me I can't do something, I am that person that will go out and
Just prove them. Yeah,
just to prove people wrong. But anyway, so we did that in Inclusive Companies Awards, and then in 2017, 2018, I looked around and there wasn't. Again, it was very much benchmarked together. There was different benchmarks that was out there, very singular stranded again. But I didn't have the answer to who's the most inclusive employer in the UK. I just didn't have that answer, and I looked up and I think there's nobody doing that. Why is nobody doing that? So I came up with the Inclusive Top 50 UK Employers, which was basically, to highlight organisations from public sector, private sector, housing, education and charity, what they're doing with D&I and how they can benchmark themselves against other organisations to be the most inclusive employer, because only good can come from that when organisations have a look at what their practices are and how they can promote inclusion as a whole from all strands. So that was born in 2017, and that's grown as well. We've got some great organisations that are on board with that, without being big-headed or anything like that, I'm really proud of the work that my team and I have done and what we've done in this space to actually improve D&I. And with that, we do lots of events and we try and think outside the box as regards to how we do them. So we'll do a BAME experience. So it's not just talking about, practices. It's talking about real lived experiences from people that are quite senior within organizations, the barriers that they've come through and how they've adapted themselves and how they've changed their organization to their way of thinking to promote diversity and inclusion as a whole, which is really powerful. And then we do lots of things on neurodiversity, trans, LGBT, networking, and various other things. And we're really proud of it. So, and the last thing that we've done is the inclusive CEOs. So the next thing is, after we come out of this, is, getting CEOs on board. And I'm really thinking about it as a business imperative rather than just a HR function, because it's easy to hide behind HR and say, oh, we didn't get it right this year, blah, blah. If it makes it as a business imperative straight from the top, things tend to get done a lot more quicker.
I was just going to make that point. It's got to come from the top. If it comes from the top, then it trickles down. Definitely, yeah. If a CEO demonstrates that they're fully supportive of someone who, whatever sort of diversity, whether they're black, whether they're trans, whether they're gay, whatever, then it has a massive impact on the whole company. Definitely.
Yeah. But the main thing I want to get out from this today is that I'm from a home. I was fostered. I had no one around me. I had many birthdays and Christmases by myself. Literally no presents, no phone call, no nothing. It's very difficult. So I've been in the depth of loneliness and I know what that feels like. But to be able to come from that and actually do something to where I'm at now, if I can do it, so can anybody else. But some people just need that helping. And I implore people, if you're in a certain position, help that person there. I've got lots of mentors and mentees, should I say, that I try and inspire, do lots of school workshops free of charge where I bring in, someone like ITV or Microsoft or various other people to the schools and talk to them about the careers, especially kids from inner city areas. Just give them that chance and that vision that you can actually achieve something, that the streets is not the way, or, just because you're feeling that you want to transition and there's nobody will accept you, there is organizations out there that will accept you for you.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
absolutely.
And if I can make that change, so can you. And it might not be in D&I, but you can make that change and have a dream and go for it. It's really crucial.
Absolutely, and I think often it's the fear of coming out which is worse than actually when you do it. I mean, certainly that's what I found. I mean, I was petrified about coming out, and as I told you before, when I came out, I made a coming out video and I put it on my social media and sent it to all my clients. And I remember I was absolutely petrified. My finger was hovering over the mouse, knowing that as soon as I made that click to make that video live, my life would never be the same again. And
Yeah,
I was just so worried of
yeah,
what the reaction would be, because everything was relying on it. My whole reputation, my livelihood, everything relied on the reaction to that one video. But the reaction was fantastic. I had so many messages of support. I felt so loved. It was incredible. And the thing that's the one biggest surprise I've had is that the vast majority of people are absolutely okay with it. It's just
yeah.
we think that they won't be, and so we put all that pressure on ourselves. And so that's why one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing is just to show other trans people that it is okay to be trans.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for a lot of different things. It's that fear that stops you doing something, but to be
Well,
able to live your truth is just amazing.
I think it's your calling. I think when you have, call it a gift from wherever, from, I think lots of people have ideas and don't do something with it. You're one of these people that has an idea and done something with it. I'm one of those people that has an idea and done something with it. And when you take them steps, you never know where it might take you. It might take you to the highest heights.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I mean, I just feel so passionate about it. I'm just just really driven by it, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's why I keep banging on about it.
Yeah, exactly, because you feel it, and and I think a lot on D&I, it's not about that anymore. It's become saturated to a certain degree, and there's not people that haven't had these lived experiences of being discriminated against that are really telling us how we should promote it. Do you know what I mean? But actually, people like you and I who have lived through it and know what it's like to be discriminated. And discrimination is discrimination no matter what background you are from. That's my idea. It's all the same bigoted thing. So I think it's really crucial that you can have advocates, don't get me wrong, but when you have that lived experience, it goes that much further, and you have so much more passion for what you do as a person to make that change to other people.
I think so. When I go and do my trans awareness training sessions, and standing in front of a group of people, and I tell them my story, and that's always the most powerful part of the presentation. And when I do all the other stuff, doing the definitions and all the other stuff that goes with it, showing the typical journeys and stuff, but actually telling my story, that's the bit that really hits home to people, and it really makes them think. Well, and the whole point of the whole thing is just to show that trans people are just ordinary people who want to be happy just like everyone else, and that's just the same with everybody, whatever whatever background they've got. It's the same thing. We're all just people, aren't we? That's it.
Exactly. It's exactly, but it's we've got to break down them stigmas. So moving forward, I think myself and yourself, we've just got to especially in these times of change, I think it's time to innovate as well. And one thing that I'm working on is I want organizations, there's going to be a lot of redundancies being made, because of what's happened, but it's actually a start of rebirth, because when you are starting to build your teams or looking inwards at your teams, you can actually start by being more diverse in the outset, so that you can have a diverse board, you can have a diverse senior team. Do you know what I mean? C-suite out there when you're looking to build your teams. It's a really good way to build those organizations in the right way, I think, from now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And how do you feel generally that it's going now in terms of D&I and acceptance and people embracing people with difference? I mean, how do you think it's going?
I think honestly, when you have a recession, I noticed it in the last recession, and from my own experience, is that someone needs someone to blame. When you have a recession, when people have got hardship, there's always going to come some kind of scapegoat. So from the last scapegoat was foreign workers are taking our jobs, and we need to get them out. And I think that was a catalyst for Brexit, to be honest with you, as well, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't the case. you know, I think in these trying times, I think, you know, we was getting somewhere. And I think if organizations stay true of promoting diversity and equality, then that stance can still stand. I'm just
Yeah.
hoping and praying that organizations still have that. But one of the first things that tends to go when we have a recession and when redundancies are happening, and this is unprecedented times, is the
Totally.
D&I agenda. You know,
Totally.
in the last recession, we had the public sector had teams of like 15, 20 people, went down to 1 or 0 and say, well, we're making redundancies. We can't do anything. We're not going to promote anything to do with D&I. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, we're just on survival mode, which is, you know,
A lower priority for them, isn't it?
a lower priority. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a couple of years before we actually come out of this shining. I think, but actually, again, but there's actually a real, for the right people, there's a real opportunity to help organizations grow in the right way if you position yourself correctly, and that's all you've got to try and do, is position yourself in a way that you can make that difference to society. And you never know, something else might come of it, an idea might come where, you know, this is the way I want to go, and organizations might come on board and make that difference through that way. But we've got a long way to go, and we still had a long way to go.
Yeah.
Inclusive top 50 UK employers, the surveys that we do, no employer is fully inclusive across all strands by far. And there still tends to be pockets of certain strands that are getting the promotions and others at the detriment are not getting anything. So, you know, BAME, disability and trans is not represented at all in hardly any boards, or not enough anyway. You know, and there's still a lot more work to be done. So, and we've still got to keep fighting when this is happening. What's your opinion on it?
Pretty much the same, to be honest. I think we were getting there, but it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen now. I don't know. I mean, I think certainly from a trans point of view, certainly in terms of employment, there's a long way to go, as so many of my trans friends have struggled to get work. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I'm in a different position. I mean, when I came out, because I wasn't in a staff job, I had no protections. You know, in law, if people had a problem with it, they walked away, and I did lose some clients through it. Luckily, I didn't lose many, but I did lose some. And but then my attitude now is, well, do I want to work with people like that? No, I don't. So it's their loss. So, but at the same time, for people who are in jobs already coming out, then they've got that protection there. However, the people who hadn't got jobs but then were trying to get jobs, they're finding it so difficult, and it's so hard to prove discrimination, especially when they fail on, you know, just getting, like, usually, you know, they put the application in. Usually the first step is then, say, a telephone interview. Well, you know, take someone like me. I've still got quite a deep voice. You know, I know that. Well, on the phone, I still sound like a bloke, and so I get misgendered on the phone all the time. I tend not to get misgendered when people see me face to face, luckily, but on the phone, I get misgendered all the time, and so, you know, so if I was to apply for a job, someone seen my name down there as Katie Neves, and then they pick up the phone, but then there's a mismatch between how my name and how I sound, and often then that's just enough for them just to put my application in the bin, but then how do you prove that happens? It happens all the time. I mean, so many of my trans friends have struggled to get work, and it's really, really hard. And I know there was a survey done recently that showed, it was by Crossland Employment Solicitors, that showed that 8 out of 10 UK employers won't employ a trans person, and it's shocking. And it was an anonymous survey, and to be honest, I'm surprised it's not higher. But so I think there's an awful long way to go, and I just hope that the current setback hasn't been too much of a setback, but time will tell.
I think you've got to remain optimistic. I mean, because it's being, the private sector, some of the big organizations will still survive and they'll still carry on doing what they're doing. It's been paused. I'm always forever an optimist as well. I think it's going to be hard, but I'm also an optimist that, real change can come from this as well. Do you know what I mean? Like everything, like the environments, like, the way people interact, even working from home could be very different from what it is now. So it's a huge reset to get things right.
Yeah.
I think, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not, I don't see it necessarily as a negative. So if
No.
you can position yourself in the right way so you can get that message out that, let's do it right this time. Let's get the recruitment of people right. Let's get the leadership right within DNI,
Yeah.
and things can change quite and in a quicker pace, at a quicker pace, I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Um, I truly believe that. But you never know what the rhetoric is. I mean, the rhetoric with, obviously with the government at the moment is not as diverse as it could be, with people getting deported from that have been in this country for many years. I think people are becoming more bigoted as, we have likes of Donald Trump and to the likes of Boris Johnson and various others that are saying, not apologizing for certain things that they're saying, it puts in the hearts and minds of other people that they think that or if the government's doing this, we can do this as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I'm,
but at the
I'm,
same
I'm,
time,
I'm
go
certainly
on,
worried about the current equalities minister, who seems to be endorsing inequality, more in inequality, and certainly against trans people. I'm very worried about that at the moment.
yeah.
That's a
And
big.
there's a lot of stigma against trans at the moment from women's groups and so on and so forth.
There is, yeah.
And why can't we just be all accepting of people are different and we all have different needs and but that's a great thing. It's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. And I just don't understand how someone can have a hate for someone just because of who they are. I just don't understand that mentality myself. I find it hard to comprehend, but it goes on.
Exactly. And although I've got a different name and I look different to how I was 2 years ago, I'm still exactly the same person on the inside. The only difference is I'm happier. Well,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. And I think we've got to take a lot from even the series that you're doing and the stuff that I'm doing. That look at the people around you and look at what the good people are doing within the UK. They're going far and above beyond what they should do to help other people from backgrounds, and look at the humility. And we seem to have lost the empathy. And I'm just implore people to have a little bit more empathy when they're looking at the world, and and get off your phones and stop being, because we have opinion news at the moment. So whatever your opinion is going to be strengthened by what you look at your phone. And open up your network to different diversities, open up your network and your trusted friends to different people, and then you can really educate yourself and how a great place the UK could be, just accepting difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all the work that you do. I mean, it's incredible the stuff you do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks ever so much for being today's cool person. You can tell your kids now that you are officially a cool person.
And so are you.
Katie says so.
Yeah. I'm going to tell them. I will tell them. But honestly, I said before, you're doing some great work, and hopefully we can do some work together as well.
I hope so. I'd love to.
I would love that. I mean, I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Oh,
really great personality. Really advocate for not just for trans, but open it up to everybody. And actually, by what you're doing, by interviewing people from different backgrounds, you open up a whole new thing. That listen, trans isn't scary. Trans is nothing to be worried about. We're just humans.
Yeah.
And with everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks ever so much, Paul, and thanks everyone for watching. And please catch up with the next edition of Cool People. I've still got lots more people to interview. I've interviewed lots. I've got lots more to come. This isn't going to stop anytime soon.